Hi everyone and welcome to Project 31 for 2023, where I watch 31 horror films in the 31 days of October and give you my review for each and every single one. Today, October 2nd, I will review the movie Cube 2 Hypercube.
Yeah, well, maybe something made him go. Maybe you should come back.
Cube 2 starts off with a few people waking up and realizing they are stuck in this sort of maze. There are 6 portals that open up with the touch and you can move to the next room. Each person wakes up and they are alone. But the more they move from room to room, they start to converge and you get a little bit of information about every single one of them. However, some of them are lying about why they are there. This maze is no ordinary maze, and this time around, this cube is no ordinary cube. It's a multi-dimensional cube, not only working in the 3 dimensions we know, but also breaking the known laws of physics, also breaking the laws of time. I wish I could tell you more about this movie, but generally speaking, there's not much less. There's a few people running around from room to room, getting picked off one by one, seeing these crazy things that not supposed to be there. Like I said, multidimensional, time breaking, physics breaking, everything is breaking, and at the end, there can be only one.
It's been staring at us in the face the whole time.
Well, maybe you could share with the rest of the class.
Of the subgenres of horror films, I would put this one as a sci-fi thriller combined with a sort of psychological thriller. Rather than just straight up horror, we have basically an escape room that we need to solve. Mistaken identity that we don't know if the killer is in the room or not. We have multiple realities intersecting with each other and possibly affecting each other, and that's just leading to a big convoluted mess. I sat down and watched this movie where I have never seen this movie before, but I did see Cube, and you know what? I kind of liked the concept of it. But in the first 10 minutes, it did not grab me by the balls. And yes, I know, some of the horror films, even the really good ones, have a very long setup and a really short payoff. But I just was bored out of my mind. It seems like every time there was some sort of a trying to figure out the mystery moments in the movie, it got ruined by the actors or the characters shouting at each other, the walls starting to collapse, or time dilation, any sort of something that will keep the characters from figuring everything out. That's where everything just collapses. All in a sense, trying to push us and the characters from room to room until the breaking point. So what I'm saying is, generally speaking, there was a lot of fluff and not actual substance in the movie. If I could take a wild guess, the movie's writer was a big Marvel's comic fan. First of all, when the Hypercube is mentioned as a Hypercube, it is not called a Hypercube, it's called a Tesseract. And yes, I'm well aware that the Tesseract is a real concept and is not just a blue cube from Marvel, but it invokes precisely that. Second of all, Alex Trusk is mentioned several times, referring to a military scientist that helped create or actually created the impossible technologies this cube represents. And also, he's a recluse individual, a rich recluse individual. It kind of reminds me of Bolivar Trusk, the man who created the Sentinels in the X-Men comic. Now, I'm not saying it's a blind ripoff. I'm just saying the writer was inspired by those things and constructed his concept incorporating those elements in his story.
Who do you think wrote these numbers?
He must have written them himself. It's all upside down.
What's unfortunate that when you see the movie, the real story behind the mystery is far simpler than what it's made out to be, because it's a lot of fluff to pad out these 90-minute movies. And if you were waiting for your typical Last Girl ending, forget about it. The whole story ends in a big nothing burger. Which leads me to a point. Why did I watch this movie at all? I can't recommend this movie at all. It is an awful amalgam of things you might see in other thrillers, but there's so little to scare you about it. But if you don't watch the bad horror movies, how will you know when you get the good ones? This one was a bad one, and I cannot recommend it. I thank you for watching. If you happen to watch this not on the Halloween season, please check out my other movie reviews, or check out our Saturday show, The Real McCoy Podcast, where we dive deeper into lots of fantastic movies.